or if there's an issue or anything like that, please go ahead and send it via chat. And I've got Julie Hartman and Antoine Manuel here helping me today. Julie will be monitoring the questions, and if she thinks that something needs to be addressed immediately, she'll say, hey, Laura, there's a question. Otherwise, we'll address it at the end. Okay? Julie, I am going to go ahead and unmute you now. So, Julie, you're unmuted.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Julie. All right. So today we're going to be, first of all, thank you all for being here this afternoon, on a Friday afternoon for most of us. Today I'm going to be covering Ascribe Coder and the Codebook Basics. So I'm going to be focused on Codebook Basics today. I'll be doing a quick PowerPoint that some of you have seen before, but I do it before each one of these webinars. And then we'll actually get into the demonstration of Ascribe Coder and the Codebook Basics. All right, so let me just go ahead and get started. I just want to make sure we're all kind of on the same page with Ascribe Coder. So Ascribe Coder, the modernized version of Ascribe Coder, was released on September 20th of 2013. Most of you have already been in Ascribe Coder coding, but I just want to make sure we all know that it is currently available on the live server. You can access Ascribe Coder today from the software that you're using. And you can use it today for coding. Many clients are using it today for coding. Ascribe Coder merges the functionality of 4 of our pages. It merges the functionality of review responses, the single response coder interface, edit the codebook, and Codebook Editor Preview. Codebook Editor Preview was actually sunsetted or removed from the software when we released Ascribe Coder on September 20th. All right, so it is slated to replace these windows or tools. Ascribe Coder was developed using our Ascribe community feedback. It was developed with the user's wish list in mind, and also from our user group feedback. We had internal steering committees, and then also our users group gave feedback on the prototype and the various versions of Ascribe Coder prior to release. And Ascribe Coder was also created to be supported in multiple browsers. So prior to the release of Ascribe Coder, we could only code using Internet Explorer. Today, we can use Ascribe Coder in Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, or Safari on a Mac. And I'll be addressing that a little more once we actually get into the software. I wanted to talk just a little bit about what's been going on with Ascribe Coder since its release. We've had a lot of training sessions with our clients and a lot of feedback on Ascribe Coder, and that feedback goes directly to our development team. So since our initial release, we've had a couple of patches, as you'll see here, and we have more coming, okay? I'm going to skip right to version 7.6 here. If you want to know about the patches we've had, you can look at those and what's new. But version 7.6 is scheduled for March of 2014. And some of the feedback we've had on Ascribe Coder so far asks for spell check for our code books. And that is supposed to be implemented in version 7.6 in March of 2014. Version 8 is scheduled or tentatively scheduled for release on June of 2014. And this is important because in version 8, we will be removing review responses, the single response coding interface, and edit the codebook. Okay? So that's why we're having these webinars, so that we can get you in using Ascribe Coder and get your feedback. And then version 8.2 is scheduled for August of 2014, and I couldn't leave this out. That's when we're going to see our updated version of Phrase Analyzer. Okay, so Phrase Analyzer will continue to be available only through Internet Explorer until its release, which is currently scheduled for August of 2014. Okay, with that being said, I've got a list of efficiencies here, but I'm going to go ahead and go right on over to Ascribe. So I mentioned that we're going to be doing these webinars. I've got all the webinars that we're doing in February scheduled. I'm also recording each of these webinars, and I'm looking for the best way to publish these so that everybody can have access to them. So hopefully I'll figure that out early next week and have links so that everybody can access the recordings of these webinars. But as you look through here, you might notice that, again, today I'm doing Codebook Basics. But later on, I'll be doing the Codebook Toolbar, where we'll be talking about some of the things that, some of the other things, more advanced things in the Codebook side of the screen. And also, I've got a session on dual codebooks. In this session on dual codebooks, I'll also be talking about shared codebooks and a little bit about the Codebook Manager as well. Okay? So I just wanted to make sure that you realize that we are going to be doing more of these on Codebooks. And also, I plan to repeat these series of webinars in March, April, and May, just to make sure that our users are up to speed with Ascribe Coder prior to the June version 8 release. All right. So again, today I'm going to be going over mainly the Codebook Basics. Let's go ahead and navigate over to Supervisor Studies. Here we go. Questions, and today we'll go into Q7, Ascribe Coder. And as I said before, I'm actually using Chrome today, and Ascribe Coder, as you see, is available today. This is on the live server that I'm using. Okay, so first of all, just a brief overview of the page for those of you that maybe aren't using Ascribe Coder yet. The left side of the screen is our response pane. This is where we'll return our responses. I'm not going to talk about coding responses today. I did those webinars yesterday. As I said, there will be more webinars in March, April, and May, and we will be publishing the recording of the webinar we did yesterday as well, if you're interested in learning about coding. Also, our help system is available. Clicking on our little navigation icon, most of these are navigation menu items except for the help system. The help system will actually bring up the help system for Ascribe Coder, but the best way to access the help system for Ascribe Coder is to open the table of contents, and then you'll get a list of everything that's available. We will be restructuring this so that it's and making a PDF available for everyone. So this is still kind of in progress, and that's our help system. All right, so again, this is our response pane. This is our response toolbar. This is our navigation icon. Again, as we rework Ascribe, or as the guys rewrite the different tools in Ascribe, this navigation icon will become more important because right-click navigation is going away. All right, the codebook is on the right side of the screen. It looks very much like review responses, a few minor differences that we'll be talking about today, and this will be our focus today. This is our Codebook toolbar. I will be going over some of the settings today, but the other things in our toolbar we'll be looking into in more depth in the next webinar on Codebooks. Okay, at the bottom of our screen we've got our question information. So I can see that I'm in Q7, and the question text is, what, if anything, do you particularly like about static-free product? I could even edit this question if I like to by clicking on question properties. But again, I don't plan on getting into that too much today. I just wanted to point out that the questions pane is down here at the bottom, responses pane over here on the left, codebook pane on the right. This is my navigation icon. If I need to go back out to the questions and come back in, I can do that. All right, so these resizer bars this resizer bar allows me to make the codebook as large as I need it to be while I'm editing it. I could even completely hide my responses side if I wanted to, my response pane, by clicking on this toggle button. Okay, and so if you're editing a codebook and you want to focus entirely on editing the codebook, then you might want to hide the response pane and just focus on the codebook. So that is an option. Now I'm going to start out talking about the codebook in locked mode. So you'll notice that now we can lock and unlock our codebook. And when the codebook is locked and unlocked, we have certain settings that we can turn on. I have, first of all, in my settings, the Show tab really lets me determine what I'm seeing when the codebook is both locked and unlocked. So I want to show my output ID and my counts. But just so you see, in Ascribe Coder, as we edit our settings, it changes what we see on the screen, so we can kind of decide what we want to see here. I've also got the output ID for my nets showing. I don't have to show that, or I can show that if I like. Okay, so again, I've got output ID for my codes and counts for my codes showing, and then output ID for my nets showing as well. Okay, when locked, I've got a couple of options too. The main thing I want to show you right now is when the codebook is locked that I can show my codebook without my nets. So this is sort of a phrase analyzer view of my codebook for those of you that use phrase analyzer. And this is, again, just a view. I'm not truly sorting my codes, but what it is doing is hiding my nets, and then I can tell it, you know what, I want to see my codes alphabetically. So for a brand list, this might be how we'd like to use our codebook. We might want to code while our nets are hidden and our codes are sorted. Okay, that's our Show Codes Only view. And I wanted to make sure I touched on that today because I want to talk about sorting the codebook permanently when the codebook's unlocked. But you'll also see that you can sort by output ID, input ID, and a couple of other things here. All right, so that's sorting the codebook for coding, okay, while the codebook is locked only. All right, so talk in a minute about what we can do with the codebook while it's locked. Again, we can sort it the way you just saw, and it's just a visual display. We can also edit an existing code. For instance, if I want to edit Straighten's hair, I can right-click on it and hit Code Properties and Straighten's hair. Maybe I want to change that. Maybe I want it to say makes hair straight. Whatever. I can do that. Makes hair straight. I can change the color of my code. And you see when I click on a color, it shows me what color the text will be here, where it says text color. Okay? So that was something, you know, we've had a few questions about why isn't it showing me my color. It does show you right here what color the code will be when you hit OK. So I've got a nice blue code. Of course, all of the code properties are editable here. We can also insert a new code. So if I want to insert a code between code 201 and 202, I'll right-click on code 201 and choose Insert Code. And I can call this my new code, and maybe make it whatever color I want that new code to be, and put my regular expression or whatever, and hit OK. So now I've got my new code. All right. So the other thing that I can do with the codebook lock is I can delete an unused code. So if there's a code here, and I've got control statics and eliminate static, and somebody says, you know what, Laura, controls and eliminates, same thing. I need one of those codes deleted. So long as the code hasn't been used, I can right-click on it and delete it. And you're going to see a larger delete in a minute. When the codebook is locked, hold on a second. We can only code responses when the codebook is locked. There's one loophole to that, and that's regular expression coding. Clicking on an expression link and coding, you can do that when the codebook's unlocked, but you can't do any other coding when the codebook is unlocked. Okay, so also, and this is where I wanted to go and I lost the thought, only only supervisors can unlock a codebook. People with just coder privilege cannot unlock a codebook. So what I'm saying is, you know, if you have coder only privilege, the things that you can do to your codebook are you can right-click, edit the properties, you can insert a new code, you can delete an unused code. Okay? There's another thing that we can do here for editing the codebook that allows us to stay on our keyboard. while we're editing the code book. So some of us, that might be our job, to go through and add some regular expressions for some codes or do something for some codes. So what we might want to do is toggle the focus. And what toggling the focus does is it tells Ascribe Coder which code we want to start on, and it allows us to use our up and down arrow keys to go through our codes. So if I decide, you know what, I need to edit eliminate static, I'll arrow down to it, and I'll hit Enter to open up the code properties. I can then use Tab to go between the different properties, and when I'm finished, I can either tab down to the OK key and hit Enter, or I can hit Escape and away it will go. Okay? So this allows me to quickly go through, and maybe I want to edit my, what am I doing? There we go. Maybe I want to edit something here, and again, I can tab through and edit there my long help. This is long help. And then there we go. So now I've got long help for that one. Okay, so that's the toggle focus. Again, it's right-click, toggle focus. Also, we can see information about our codes. So if I need to see the information here, I'll choose information, and it'll show me everything about my code. Well, it should show me everything about my code. There we go. It'll tell me where my code has been used. That takes a minute because sometimes, yeah, it's been used in multiple places, but it'll tell me where the code has been used. And notice that when I click on information, it gives me the percentage of responses and the percentage of respondents coded and responses coded and the percentage of respondents. Okay, so that leads me to talk a little bit about the counts and percents here. Remember, I have turned on my counts so that I see the count and percent behind each code. The percent is based on the total number of responses that are in my current pool. So I've got 348 responses that I'm intending to code with this code book today. Only 11% are coded, but the percentage is based on 348 rather than 41. In review responses today, the percentage is based on the 41. If you want to see this percentage, then you need to look at the information for the code, and you'll see that percentage. Okay? Just making sure that sounds like I said that about as clear as mud. But just so you know, the main thing to remember is that the percentage here is based on the total response pool and not the coded response pool. Okay? All right. So now let's talk about unlocking the code book. All right? First I want to untoggle. There we go. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock the code book. When the code book is unlocked, it shows with, each code has the border around it. All right? And instantly the thing that you see is that we've got 4 new tools when we unlock the code book. Code book is locked. Code book is unlocked. We've got 4 new tools. Those tools are grayed out until we make selections. Okay? If I want to color some codes, then I can select those codes. And notice that my tools are now lit up. These tools are my delete tool, my color tool, my renumber tool, and my change case tool. Right now I've got 3 codes selected. So if I decide I want to change the color of those codes, that's not a there we go. Nice bubblegum pink, there we go. I've just changed the color of 3 codes. Anytime I've got a code selected, it's going to tell me up here. It keeps a count of what I've got selected. All right? Another way to select is to right-click on the codebook node, the main node here, and hit Select Descendants. And you've got the options to select all, to select just the codes, to select just the nets, to select the used codes, the unused codes, the empty nets, or the unused nets. Okay? An empty net is a net that has no codes applied to it. Unused nets are nets that have codes, that have codes reporting to them. Empty nets do not have codes reporting to them. Unused nets that do have codes reporting to them, but those codes haven't been used. All right? So that's how we select. So if I need to edit my code book, maybe I want to change the case of my nets, I can select my nets and say I want to make my nets uppercase. There we go. Then I want to right-click and deselect all, and now maybe what I want to do is select my codes and make my codes lowercase. There we go. Okay? And then I want to deselect before I do anything else. Okay? The main point here is that for these tools to work, we do first have to have something selected. It's a different mindset. It's different from what we're used to in review responses, and it's a struggle to remember in the beginning, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty cool. The renumber isn't actually working today, so if I go down, and I just wanted to let everybody know that if I wanted to renumber my code book, basically I would select here. I'd be renumbering my nets and my codes. And I select them and say what I want to renumber and hit the renumber button. But again, that's not currently working. I've got somebody working on that right now to fix it. All right. Let's go ahead and deselect all. Deselect all. Interesting. Okay, there we go. All right. So the other things that we can do with our codebook unlocked, and what people with just coder access cannot do, is move codes around. So if I decided code 234 needed to be down here in my static subnet, I can just drag it. I can click on the move handle and drag it. So I'm dragging code 234. Okay. We're also this drag. It's a one at a time kind of move feature, and the blue dotted line kind of tells us where the code's going to go. Notice that if I pull it too far to the right, it turns red. It's telling me that this code can't report the code 207. Okay, we can't drag and promote codes to net status, but we can drag. You know, if this code needed to be a top-level code, I can drag it out here. So now it's on the same level as the nets. Okay. This is something that a few people have had some problems with. In IE9, it really doesn't work at all, but in Chrome, in IE10 and IE11, it seems to be okay. The more important thing is, you know, again, this is a one at a time move option. What if I want to move more than one code? What I have to do is select the codes I'd like to move, and I can select them across nets. I can select multiples within a net. You know, I currently have 4 codes selected, right? And then once I have the code selected that I'd like to move, I click on the code that I'd like them to fall under, and I say move selection below. So I just moved 4 codes below code 214. What if I wanted to net these 4 codes? Well, in that case, what I would probably do is right-click, insert code below, and I would call this a net. Let's call this my new net, and hit OK. So now I've got a new net. I've still got these 4 selected, but let's grab one more. And then I'm going to right-click on the new net, move selection into. All right. I could also, if I wanted to promote a code to net status, a code that hasn't been used, for instance, if I want manageable hair to be a net, I could right-click on it and hit change into a net. So manageable hair is now a net. Okay? So if you make a code and forget to tick that net box, you can right-click on it and change it into a net. Or if you need to change a net into a code, you can right-click on it and say change into a code, but only if it hasn't been applied. All right, so those are the ways that we move codes around in the code book. One more thing here before I take any questions is that we can also sort our codes. Okay, I think we may have ran into a small issue with sort this morning too, but the idea is that we should be able to sort our code book Let me deselect everything because you don't have to have select on for sorting. The idea is that we should be able to sort our code book, and we can say sort the descendants. So if I need all of my codes to be in alphabetical order under their nets, what I can do is say sort by description and then hit sort, and it would sort these alpha. Again, it's not working. The last patch seems to have broken the renumber and the sort. But again, I've got somebody working on that. Okay, so that's the sort. Let me just go through and make sure that, oh, and that sort is permanent. This sort is permanent. You are changing the structure of the code book with this one. Whereas back here with the code book locked, using this sort, it's just a display. Okay, you're just temporarily sorting without your nets. All right. I'm just going through my list to make sure that I've talked about everything here. I believe that I've talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. Was there any questions that came up while we were going through this?
Yes, there's a question. Is there a way to see a total count and percentage for the nets? And if not, can we request that as an option?
Okay. Julie, what are we telling people on that one? They have to print it to get the counts and the percentages on the net level?
I think you'd have to print it.
Yeah, because I'm not going over this usage tab today, but I think the usage tab, yeah, it doesn't do the nets either. Yeah, I believe you have to print it to get that information. Let me see. I believe also this, you can see the individual information. So I'm seeing the information right now for my efficacy net. Okay, so I can see it one by one. But also I think that if you print it out to Excel, it should also, and I'm going to be going over the print and the tools, the codebook tools in more detail when I talk about the codebook toolbar. I wanted to make sure that I kept these sessions, to 45 minutes and really only focused on one thing. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about printing and the codebook tools, but I will do that, in another session.
Yes, and if somebody has any more questions about that issue, please send it to support so we can put it in our list if that's important to you. Okay, there's a couple of other questions. Okay, Laura, how about copy and paste codes into code books? And somebody wants to see how you start a code book from scratch. So I thought maybe you'd want to did you want to cover those today?
I didn't particularly want to, but I guess it doesn't hurt. We've got what, 15 minutes? So sure. We go into questions here and see if I've got an empty question to do this with. Well, I can just create a new question real quick. Okay, so to create a codebook from scratch, you'd basically, first of all, have you got to get out of codes only view? There we go. But you would just insert into and start building your codes. I don't know if you were looking for something bigger than that, but basically this is, how you would add a code to the code book. Now, if you're used to adding codes by looking at your responses, and of course I don't have any responses in this guy, but if you're used to adding codes by looking at your responses, I can show you something real quick. Here we go. Bring up some responses. What we can do, if I need a code for brushing it on, I can highlight brushing it on and then right-click and choose Insert Code, and brushing it on will populate the description field of my code. Okay? So that's another way that we can add codes to our code book. All right. As a matter of fact, you could do the same with your word list. If you needed a code for advertisement, I can highlight advertisement and then choose insert code, and advertisement will populate that description field. Okay. So there's a couple of ways that you can add codes to Ascribe Coder. Did somebody ask about copying and pasting codes from something?
Yes.
Yeah, that works just the same. It works just the same as review responses. Well, there might be a little difference. So let me show that real quick. And I will be going over this again when I talk about dual code books. I'm going to be going over copying and sharing code books, getting code books from scratch, and all of that good stuff. But I will go ahead today and cover a little bit of that. So I've got a code book here. Where's my static here? There it is. Where are my code books? There they are. Okay. So I've got some code books here that are numbered and netted and all that fancy stuff. And I just copy. Control C, copy it, pop back over, right click, unlock my code book, right click, paste. I'm like, where did it go? Paste, show, paste into. So there we go. Okay. So again, unlock your code book, right click on the code book node, choose paste. You'll get to paste it into the left side of the screen, and then show it on the right side of the screen and go from there. Okay? So that's how we copy and paste into Ascribe Coder.
Laura, there's a question about using IE9. If you have IE9, should you change to a different browser?
I did. And I can just share my experience with that. IE9, the drag and drop in IE9 seems to be flaky at best.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So I use Chrome rather than IE9. We've had other departments or customers have their coding departments upgrade to IE10. But there's that depends on your IT and everything else. They seem more open to people using Chrome. So that's sort of the problem. Our problem today with Chrome when we're in the production environment is that in Chrome we do not have access to phrase analyzer, review responses, or the single response coder interface. Those menu items just aren't there when you're in Chrome. So you'd still have to go into IE to use your phrase analyzer, or if you needed to go back to review responses or the single response coder interface, or edit the code book. It might be a good practice to use Chrome, and then let us know when you have to open up IE. Let us know when you need to go to review responses. That's something that each one of these webinars I do, I request to you guys to please try to start using Ascribe Coder, and let us know when you have to use review responses, when you have to use phrase analyzer, and why. Not just, when, like I had this situation, just why. What was behind it? Okay? I had somebody report the other day, I went back to review responses because the coding was really bad and I was really overwhelmed and I just wanted something that was comfortable. So, and we like to hear those types of things too. You can send that feedback to support@languagelogic.net or give one of us a call. What else, Julie?
Any other questions?
Nothing else?
Nothing else right now, Laura.
Okay, cool. So we need to figure out how to see the counts and percentages at the net level. See if we can figure that out without doing a scripted output. And cool. Well, guys, thank you for your time. We do have a few more minutes if there was anything else that you're interested in asking. It seems as if there's nothing else. All right. Well, cool.